Much of what we do as a church is about becoming a living expression of a profound reality. The Trinity is a unity of love. Jesus has unified us as a community of love, and we are invited to simply live into that unity together. So this week, I'm going to give you an invitation to try a few spiritual practices that are communal in nature. At times, there are practices we embrace that allow us to withdraw into the quiet spaces with God, and along with that, there are practices in the way of Jesus that draw us together. In this season, drawing together has been incredibly challenging, and as a result, many of us have felt more disconnected and displaced than ever before. In particular, our rhythms of community within the church have been drastically disrupted. So what practices can we embrace that might help us maintain that holy unity and allow us to feel more connected to the body? Well, I have two invitations for you this week to help nurture the spiritual community of our lives. The first invitation is to celebrate community. Sure, things are different. Community hasn't been what we are used to. But for many of us, there have been some creative expressions of our faith community in this season. So take some time to celebrate the experiences you've had and the people who've been a part of that journey with you. My sister is a youth leader for our church, and a few weeks ago I watched her tote around her laptop in our kitchen while she had a Zoom baking session with the young women in her small group. I don't know how the cookies turned out or not, but based on the amount of laughter and hollering that I could overhear, it sounded like a pretty special experience of community that's totally worth celebrating. Throughout COVID, me and my family, we've been on countless walks by the river and way more trips to the Toboggan Hill than I can ever remember with all kinds of friends from Lakeview. And every time we manage to make it work to meet up in person, I find the experiences so life-giving and energizing. Those are experiences worth celebrating. One of my favorite experiences lately has been seeing people I know from Lakeview out in the wild and making sure to take the time to make a connection. Just last week, I saw Riley Plett walking down Broadway. The week before that, we bumped into Lee and Twyla Barber on the Meewasin. And then one day, early in COVID, I remember I was driving down Clarence and I had to slow down and give a shout out to Fran Walmsley as she was walking down the sidewalk. Might have given her a bit of a scare, but I love these little tastes of community that remind me of my Lakeview family. And they're moments worth celebrating. For those of us who are part of a home church, this has been a challenging year, but I am confident that there are still many things worth celebrating within our communities. In our home church, Arvin and Steph got married during COVID, and we celebrated them with a driveway reception. We even welcomed a new couple into our home church just a few weeks ago. Most of us have never even met them in real life, and yet Caitlin and Cody are already becoming a key part of our community. Totally worth celebrating. Even though many of us have struggled with Zoom overload, personally, I've been richly blessed by the time our home church has had together every Wednesday night. We've laughed, we've cried, we've prayed for one another, we've encouraged one another, we've reminded one another that we are bonded together in God's family, even in this lonely season. And that is absolutely worth celebrating. So this week, take some time to celebrate the experiences of community you've had. Celebrate the people who've been there for you. Celebrate the small moments, the special moments, the online moments, the socially distanced moments. Whatever experiences of spiritual community that you have enjoyed with others amidst this season, celebrate them this week. Another invitation to help you lean into community this week is to practice intercessory prayer. Whoa, looks like Allison isn't the only one who knows some fancy words. As you may know, there are many modes of prayer, and we have explored all kinds of ways to practice prayer over the past few months. Intercessory prayer is a mode of prayer that binds us together in community. The word intercession is a bit of a weird churchy word, but it basically means to intervene on behalf of someone else, to make a petition in the name of another. We actually had a taste of intercessory prayer just last week in the book of Ephesians. Do you remember when Paul said, I pray that God would strengthen you with power through his Spirit? Paul is making an appeal to God on behalf of the people in Ephesus. We do this a lot in church life. This is a familiar mode of prayer for many of us. But if you're new to the ways of Jesus or the idea of prayer is new to you, no worries. This is a very simple way to pray, and you're invited to give it a try this week. Here's a simple way to approach this. First, just take a moment to think about the people in your life, your family, your coworkers, your friends, and amidst the categories that come to mind, consider the people who are a part of your spiritual community. For some of you, that might be automatic because you're part of a home church, or you have a close circle of friends from our church community. Maybe for some of you, that's not so automatic. That's okay. To get started, simply think about people who you have been connected with through your church life. Maybe it's someone you used to connect with in the lobby. Maybe you could name one of the pastors that you've been connected with. Or maybe there's someone whose name you just can't quite remember. You know, like that lovely couple who used to greet you with a warm smile as you arrived on Sundays. Their names are Jack and Billy, by the way. Or that friendly young woman who served you at the cafe. That's Michaela. Or maybe you're thinking about that guy who played guitar and he was always bouncing back and forth on his toes. That's Nathan. Do your best to come up with a little list and simply just sit with those names. Maybe you could start by choosing one name per day. Just consider, what ways can you ask for God's help on their behalf? Maybe you know some of the specifics of what's going on in their life, and you can offer up specific prayers for God to give them strength or wisdom or peace or whatever you think they might need in this season. Maybe you have no idea what life is like for them currently. That's okay. Maybe you could borrow Paul's prayer from Ephesians 3 and simply insert their name. Maybe you could reach out to those people. Let them know that they're on your heart and ask them how you can pray for them. This is one of the wonderful ways that intercessory prayer can strengthen the bonds of community. We can strengthen our unity as a church family by simply letting others know that we see them and we're praying for them. You could also consider sending them your prayer. Sometimes I'll do this with my friends from home church in a text message. And I'll just type something simple like, hey, Allie, I was praying for you this morning, asking God to give you strength and energy as you navigate your exams, praying for peace of mind and clarity of thought. I personally find that especially helpful because sometimes my mind tends to wander in prayer. Like I start out praying for my friend Andrew, but somehow I'm thinking about how my March Madness bracket got busted so badly when Loyola beat Illinois. So sometimes it actually helps to write my prayers and then just send them to my friends. That's what Paul did, so I don't know, that's got to be worth something. Our journey in community has definitely been bumpy, with lots of starts and stops and unexpected collisions, and that's how it sometimes is in the community of faith. The book of Ephesians paints an inspiring picture for all of us to embrace and pursue. Let's keep chasing after it together.